Hi, welcome back. I thought we'd do a little tree painting demo today using the wet on wet technique. I actually have two ways that I do evergreen trees, so we'll go ahead and get started here in a minute. The little fuzzy guy here on my shirt is actually my microphone. I had to put that little muffler over it so it doesn't sound like I'm breathing like a racehorse, so just kind of ignore him. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to do my usual here. I've got Grumbacher liquid white. Hopefully you can see it there. Again, Bob Ross Company makes the liquid white as well. Either of those will work. Or if you're desperate, you can take some titanium white and mix it with some linseed oil and put it on your canvas. So let's jump in and do that first. I'm just dipping it in the can. You can see how much I've got on here. And I'm going to go up here and just drop it across my canvas. Looks like I got a little hole in my canvas there, but that's okay. We're just doing a demo, so it's not that big of a deal. And I'm gonna put a thin, even coat on here. Back and forth, up and down, all around. Just kind of scrubbing it in. Don't want too much. If you put too much, it'll really dilute your colors down a good bit. So, again, it won't ruin your painting, but really no point in putting on any more than you need. So I'm just going up and down and across. And then once I get my liquid white on there, I kind of stand off to the side and look across the canvas and see if there are any dull places. If there are, then chances are I missed a spot. I think that looks pretty good, but you can also test by using your fingers and just touching in different places. So if you look here, it kind of covers, but you can still see my fingerprint. And then go down in this corner, same deal. Covers, but you can still see my fingerprint. Catch this corner as well. Pretty good. And up here at the top, a little thin up there, but I think I'll be okay. And then we'll catch the center here, and that looks pretty good as well. So let me find a paper towel if I can and wipe that paint off my hands, and we will get this show on the road. So I've got my palette, and what I have on here, if you can see this, I'll try to hold it up near the canvas. I've got titanium white, I've got Prussian blue, I've got some Van Dyke brown in there. I didn't really need it, but it's in there anyhow. I've got midnight black, and then I've got sap green. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start with the little Prussian blue. I'm just going to pull it out with my palette knife, like this. And then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to grab that brush we just used, that 2-inch brush, and just tapping into this Prussian blue and kind of letting the paint spread across the bristles a little bit. So you can see I got a good little bit in it this time, but it's going to be okay. It'll just be a little bolder. I go up here on my canvas and using a crisscross brush stroke, just putting some paint in. Now you wouldn't really need to do this as far as putting the blue in, because this is just practice really on making trees. But I like a little background, just kind of because. So that's what we'll do here. Kind of brush this out a little bit. And if you want to put it on a little heavier, you can. As I've mentioned, I think in the previous video, I kind of have a tendency to start light and add paint as I go, rather than putting it on too bold in the beginning and then having trouble getting rid of it. So I think that's pretty good there. So let's go ahead and make a tree color here. I'm going to use my palette knife here. I've got some sap green here. I'm going to pull this out and make some of it. That looks like it's got a little clump in him there. Let's see if we can get that out of there. So a little sap green. I'm going to take some of that Prussian blue and mix in with it too. So I'm kind of shooting for a blue-green color with this. And maybe put a little bit more of that Prussian blue in it. And maybe just because I want this color fairly dark, just because I think I'm going to take a little of that midnight black, put in there as well. maybe just a pinch more Prussian blue. Let's see what we end up with here in a minute. Again, I'd like this to lean toward a kind of a bluish green color if I can, so we'll see. So let's take a look at this. I'm just going to take my finger here, tap into that, and then go up into this white and see what we've got. Now that's still a little greenish. I don't know. I think maybe I want it a little bluer than that. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my knife, grab a pretty big glop of that blue, and put it in here. And I'm thinking that should do the trick. So maybe we'll just start with that. Okay, so I've got a number 6 fan brush here. This is a natural bristle one. This is actually a Bob Ross fan brush, which works pretty well. So it's a number 6. It's a pretty good size fan brush. So we're going to work with that. So I'm going to take my fan brush and I'm going to go into this green tree mixture we just mixed. But you know what? Before I do that, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take my glasses and put them on. Looks like I got some paint on them. I'm going to put them on so I can see. Let me wipe these out with a paper towel. And we'll put these on. Ah, not bad. I feel so much better. So, with these on, let's go back into that. Load my brush here, and I'm going to get a good bit of paint on this brush. If you can see that, I'm loading it up pretty good. I mean, not a ton just yet, but we'll get some more on it here in a minute. Let's go up here and just pick a place. So I'm going to go directly in, right at a 90-degree angle to the canvas, and I'm just going to touch using the center of my brush. Okay, then I'm going to reload my brush, and I'm going to go up here and just with the corner of the brush, and hopefully you can see this, I'm just going to touch with the corner of the brush, kind of putting a dot right there in the middle. All right, and working my way down. Look at the angle of the brush, by the way. So it's about 30 degrees out from the canvas, and then I'm slanting it down a little bit. And then this part right here is turned up like that, not straight in, turned up like that. And I'm gonna go underneath this and just touch again. Underneath it again, touch again. Underneath again, touching again. I'm going to reload my brush, and I'm going to go back down. Now I'm still touching, but notice the brush is starting to bend a little bit. Coming on down, I'm pressing, just touching, but I'm pressing a little harder. On this side, across like this. Let's take our time here. And keep in mind, the important part of this is the shape of the tree, just the shape. You don't have to worry about individual branches necessarily. Touching again, look at the corner of the brush fold up. Hopefully you can see that. Then on this side, it folds up hard, a little easier, a little easier, a little easier, barely at all. All right, on down, going underneath, pressing, letting the brush fold up, and over on this side, same type of deal. As you go down, the tree gets wider and wider. And I'm resting my hand on the brush, so I'm gonna have liquid white all over my hand, but that's okay. So as you go down, let the tree get wider, but don't get too wide on it too soon. Look at this. I barely touched up here, and if you'll notice, I left the top part of it with no branches on it. That's the terminal shoot on the tree, kind of like a Christmas tree. And leave that top part on it, and come down here before you start adding branches. And then as we go down, it gets a little easier really, because you can start pressing a good bit harder. And let's take him on down just because. So in this instance, my brush is slanting downward. In other words, the handle of the brush is down like this. Okay, and that's pretty good there. Maybe filling in the center a little bit. So if we wanted to, I could be picky and kind of get him straightened out a little bit. So there's one way of doing a tree. All right, and another way is, same deal, I'm going to load my brush here. I'm going to go over here, and let's just go directly in at a right angle to the canvas, just touching here, just to put a line. That's kind of just a starting point. And then I could take my brush, and instead of it slanting down like this and tilted like that, I'm going to go up like this and turn the bristles in this direction. In other words, toward the canvas. Okay, and then I'll go up here. Same deal, just touching. It just looks like a blob of paint. That's what it is. And then I'm going to come underneath it, touching a little harder. Underneath that, a little harder. And going on down. Hopefully you can see this. Hopefully my hand's not in the way. Coming on down. Maybe add some to the center there. Pressing on the brush. On down, pressing a little harder. Down, a little harder. Let's put a little more paint in it. A little more paint on the brush. And by the way, do not be afraid to use the paint. You've got to use paint when you're doing these trees to fill it in. But notice the difference in the branches. So this one's slanting down, this one's slanting upward. So that's two different ways to do the trees. Now if we wanted to, I can grab, you can clean your fan brush, but I'm gonna grab another fan brush. I got some extras here. I'm gonna dip into a little bit of that liquid white. I'm gonna go up here into my tree color, like so. Hopefully you can see that. I'm gonna put just a dab of blue in it, just because. Maybe, yeah, that's probably good enough. Maybe I'll make it a little lighter, put a little bit more liquid white in it. And I'm just thinning this down so it'll stick to the paint that I've already put down. And what I could do here is just load my brush and go up in here if you want, and you could put a little bit of highlight on one side of the canvas or one side of the tree, or you could do it on both. But just remember, thinner paint, and it'll stick better to your thicker paint that you've put down. I'm gonna put a little bit more liquid white in it, maybe a little blue, just to make it stick a little bit better. So we can go back in and highlight like that. All right, same deal on this side. The only difference is I'm turning my brush up. Decide where your light source is. I'm making mine on the left side coming in like this. And that didn't show up a lot, so I'm just gonna pick up a little more white. Just because. And put it in like so. Okay, well, that's how we do evergreen trees. If I want to be really fancy, I could take my brush like this and pull that out. Probably be better if I used a clean one, but I could take my brush and pull out like this and create the illusion of some snow or something. Just like that. Or shadow. And that's what you usually do when you're painting landscape. You want to pull the paint underneath when you're doing the trees, otherwise it looks like they're floating in the air. So I just created a little winter scene there, that simple. So that is how we do, let me get my glasses off in case there's a glare. That is how we do trees. So hopefully you got something from this, and I will plan to see you again very soon. Keep painting.